Imagine it's the near future. Tensions in the Strait of Hormuz, simmering for decades, finally boil over. A miscalculation, a stray missile, a tragic incident. Doesn't matter what the spark is. The firestorm that follows engulfs the entire Middle East. The United States, committed to its allies and the stability of global energy, launches a full-scale military operation against Iran. What was intended to be a swift, decisive campaign quickly devolves into something far more terrifying, a 20-year war. In the first year, the initial shock and awe of American air power seems effective. Iranian military infrastructure is heavily damaged, its navy crippled. But Iran is not a battlefield of open deserts. It's a nation of 88 million people, with rugged mountains, dense cities, and a fierce sense of national pride. The ground invasion begins, and the true cost of this conflict starts to become apparent. American soldiers, trained for conventional warfare, find themselves bogged down in brutal urban combat in cities like Tehran and Isfahan, and fighting a relentless insurgency in the Zagros Mountains. The war becomes a meat grinder. The initial optimism back home, fueled by patriotic fervor, begins to sour as the casualties mount. Every week, news channels broadcast the names of fallen soldiers. The economic strain is immense. Trillions of dollars are poured into the war effort, diverting funds from infrastructure, healthcare, and education. Taxes rise, inflation skyrockets, and the American dream becomes a distant memory for millions. The draft, a relic of a bygone era, is reinstated, sending a new generation into the crucible of a conflict they barely understand. Globally, the situation is catastrophic. The Strait of Hormuz, the jugular vein of the world's oil supply, is a permanent war zone. Oil prices surge to unimaginable highs, plunging the global economy into a deep, prolonged depression. Nations dependent on Middle Eastern oil face energy crises, leading to civil unrest and political collapses. Old alliances fracture under the strain. European partners, initially supportive, grow weary of the endless conflict and its economic fallout, distancing themselves from Washington. Meanwhile, America's rivals seize the opportunity. With the U.S. military and treasury bled dry by the Iranian quagmire, China and Russia expand their influence unchecked. China solidifies its economic dominance across Asia and Africa, creating a new global order centered on Beijing. Russia, emboldened by American distraction, reasserts its power in Eastern Europe, redrawing maps and challenging the post-Cold War consensus. The world is no longer unipolar. It's a chaotic, multipolar landscape where American power is just one voice among many, and a weakened one at that. Back in Iran, the human cost is immeasurable. A generation grows up knowing nothing but war. Cities are reduced to rubble, and the civilian death toll climbs into the millions from bombing, disease, and starvation. The initial goal of regime change becomes a bitter irony. The conflict unifies the Iranian people against a foreign invader, strengthening the very hardliners the war was meant to depose. A sophisticated, resilient insurgency supplied by regional proxies and global rivals makes every inch of the country a battlefield. By year 10, the war has become a grim routine. On the home front, protests are a daily occurrence. A deep political divide rips through American society. On one side are those who demand victory at any cost. On the other are those who plead to end the senseless bloodshed. Veterans return from their tours with physical and psychological scars that never heal. The nation struggles to cope with a lost generation, haunted by a war that has no clear purpose and no end in sight. As the war drags into its 15th year, the technological nature of the conflict evolves. Drones, AI-driven weapons, and cyber-attacks become the primary tools of warfare. The battlefield is everywhere, from the skies over Iran to the digital networks that power American cities. Cyberaxi cripple financial systems and power grids, bringing the war home in terrifying new ways. The line between soldier and civilian blurs completely. Finally, after 20 years, a ceasefire is negotiated. Not a victory, but a weary, bitter truce. American troops withdraw, leaving behind a shattered Iran and a destabilized Middle East. The geopolitical map has been irrevocably altered. The United States is a shadow of its former self, anomically broken, politically divided, and humbled on the world stage. Its global leadership is a memory. The final tally is staggering. Millions of lives lost, trillions of dollars wasted, and a global order thrown into chaos. The soldiers who fought and died, the civilians caught in the crossfire, and the families at home who paid the price all for a war that achieved nothing but destruction. This isn't a prediction, but a cautionary tale. It's a stark reminder of the true cost of conflict and the fragile nature of peace. It shows us that in a war of this scale, there are no winners. Everyone loses. Thank you for watching. If this story made you think, please consider subscribing and sharing this video. Let's hope that through understanding and dialogue, we can ensure this dark future remains firmly in the realm of fiction.